argument all week last week for the Trump administration as far as wins in the Supreme Court. And just a little cherry on top was Amy Coney Barrett going after Ketanji Brown Jackson. I thought that was pretty great. Those rulings were correct, of course. We were all on pins and needles because you never know what John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett are going to do. But they did the right thing, and the Trump administration gets these wins. And then today, some other idiot says some other stupid thing. So we've got to bring in a guy who's not an idiot, the guy who runs Article3Project.org. It is our friend Mike Davis. Mike, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me.
Always appreciate having you. I know that you just heard about this ruling. I want to present it the best I can. Today, a U.S. District Judge, Randolph D. Moss, in Washington, D.C., ruled that President Trump's January 20th, 2025 proclamation, which blocked migrants crossing the southern border from claiming asylum or other humanitarian protections, exceeded his executive authority. 128-page opinion, Mike, where he basically is saying you cannot say people can't come across the border illegally and then say, hey, I'm here for asylum. What do you make of it? Just on the periphery, just from what I read, what do you make of that?
Look, President Trump campaigns on the fact that he is going to seal our border from Biden's illegal mass invasion of over 20 million illegal aliens. And the American people liked what they heard, and they gave President Trump a broad electoral mandate, 312 electoral votes, all 7 swing states, the popular vote. He kept the House. He won a comfortable majority in the Senate. And President Trump is doing what he promised American voters he would do. He's protecting our border from this foreign invasion, and he's making sure that we expel these illegal aliens, focusing on the most vicious and violent ones like MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. You have these activist Democrat judges who have tried to sabotage him every step of the way. The Article 3 Project just put out a new tracker on this, judicial sabotage tracker on our website, that goes through these hundreds of injunctions that these lawless judges are issuing. And today's ruling by Judge Moss is a continuation of that. The Supreme Court just ruled 6-3 that these judges cannot issue these nationwide injunctions. It exceeds the judicial power of these activist judges. Their job is to decide cases and controversies of the parties properly before them with redressable claims. Nothing more, nothing less. That is their judicial power under Article 3. This D.C. Democrat judge, Moss, just ignored the Supreme Court and said that the president cannot control these asylum claims. Look, everyone who comes across the border is trained to raise these bogus asylum claims. And so right. If they're asylum seekers, why are they fighting age men coming across our border making asylum claims? Why would they leave their wife and children back in their home countries if they're going to be persecuted? This is all bogus. These claims are bogus by these asylum seekers. They are playing a game to get into our country, and President Trump is fulfilling his constitutional duty as the commander-in-chief to repel this foreign invasion.
This so-called Judge Moss in D.C., as you said. And by the way, go to article3project.org. He's also started judicialsabotage.org. Go check that out as well. But this D.C. judge went on to say, you can't have an alternative immigration system. You can't circumvent the Constitution. You can't circumvent law. Again, I mean, I'm confused about this. What he's saying doesn't make any sense because literally asylum internationally means you stop at the first country where you feel safe. If they're coming from Mexico to the United States, Mexico is a democratic society. It is allegedly a safe place. They're not running from Mexico because a tyrant took over, something like that. They have no right to keep on coming into our country. Why doesn't any of that ever play into this, Mike? I mean, literally, you can say in Venezuela, they're going to cut my head off if I don't leave. Okay, I'll hear you. Or in Cuba, or in North Korea, or whatever. Not from Mexico.
And that's just it. If you're coming from South or Central America and you're traveling by foot through Mexico for many weeks, it sounds like it's pretty safe for you in Mexico. So
stop there. Yeah.
You should stop there. That was President Trump's remain in Mexico policy. You go to the first country that you're safe, right? And the asylum does not mean that you get a golden ticket to come to the United States and then you have your anchor babies with birthright citizenship, and then you get your Medicaid and welfare and you're set up for life. We did not agree to this as the American people. We, the people, are the sovereign. We the people, we have the sovereign power, and the most fundamental sovereign power is controlling our border and controlling our populace. And we the people, never gave these courts our sovereign power to let this mass invasion into our country. We didn't do it at our founding with the Fifth Amendment. We didn't do it after the Civil War with the 14th Amendment. We didn't do it in any subsequent Congress. And we certainly didn't do it in this last election. We are being played by these migrants. They're all pretending like they're being persecuted. Again, if they're being persecuted, why did they leave their wife and kids back home?
It's a great question. It's Mike Davis, MRDDMIA, over on all the social media. Go to article3project.org and the new website, judicialsabotage.org. Just to put a fine bow on this one, Mike, the judge went on to say, well, the order is going to be delayed for 2 weeks while the Trump administration appeals, but he certified asylum seekers as a class, protecting all of them under law. Can he do that?
No, he can't do that. There are very strict rules under the federal rules of civil procedure. You can't do snap certifications of a class like that. You have to have class proceedings under the federal rules under Rule 23, the federal rules of civil procedure. This is lawless. This is just the judges trying to get around the Supreme Court's nationwide injunction order, and they're trying to do it through class actions. The Supreme Court needs to stop this. How many times is John Roberts going to let these Democrat activist judges sabotage the American people and our duly elected president? Because I'll tell you this, if John Roberts does not get his judicial house in order, and very fast, particularly on this foreign invasion, Congress is going to do it for him.
Now, what literally can John Roberts do? Can he impeach, remove? I mean, what does he have the right to do?
He can issue a stay. This is going to go up to a circuit court. The circuit court should stay this. And if the circuit court does not stay this, then it needs to go to the Supreme Court on the emergency docket. I know that the Supreme Court justices are exhausted. They just finished their term and they're on their summer vacations. But they're going to have to fix this because they allowed these activist judges to run wild. They're emboldened. And this Judge Moss is giving the big middle finger to John Roberts. And so is he going to allow this to happen?
Well, the question is, does he have the right to circumvent everything and say, hey, Moss, what are you doing? Knock it off, or we're staying this immediately. Or does he have to wait till it gets to him?
They did it before on Good Friday when the Supreme Court used the All Writs Act before the district court ruled, before the Fifth Circuit ruled. The Supreme Court used the All Writs Act to stop the president from expelling MS-13 gangbangers in Tren de Aragua. So they have the power if they want to use it. So I would say to the Supreme Court, you're being played by these activist judges. The American people see it. The emperor has no clothes. And when the Supreme Court loses its legitimacy, it loses everything. The American people, if you look at the polling, are getting very tired of illegal aliens. They're getting very tired of judicial sabotage. And when the Supreme Court and the lower federal courts lose the American people, they lose everything.
Judicialsabotage.org is the new website. Article3project.org is the website for Mike. It's also his organization. Go and support everything they do. So let's talk about the ruling from last week. It did not have to do with birthright citizenship. People freaked out. You've literally got people now on MSNBC, CNN, on TikTok claiming that President Trump can now individually just remove us from our citizenship and kick us out of the country. Of course, he can't do that. That ruling was about nationwide injunctions. You can't do it. You can set an injunction for the area where that case is being heard for that party that's bringing the case. That's it. You can't do nationwide. What's going to happen with birthright citizenship, though? Subject to the jurisdiction thereof is very clear to me because those who are diplomats here in this country are not subject to our jurisdiction. Therefore, if they have children while they're here, they're not American citizens. Why then is somebody who's a foreign national who is tied to Italy or Canada or Mexico, why then is their child a citizen?
They shouldn't be. And this has been a misinterpretation of the birthright citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment for too long. Remember, after the Civil War, we had the Civil War amendments, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to outlaw slavery, to free the slaves, to give them due process of law, equal protection of law, and to give voting rights to the freed black slaves. And one of the provisions in the 14th Amendment was that the children of freed black slaves are American citizens.
Right.
That was the purpose of the birthright citizenship clause. And as you said, it talks about all persons born in the United States subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. That's the key, is subject to the jurisdiction. So the Supreme Court has extended it from slaves to lawful permanent residence kids in the Chinese exclusion case. And the Supreme Court's rationale was clear. You have to show allegiance to the United States. If you're a
Right.
lawful permanent resident, the Supreme Court says you have allegiance to the United States. As you said, ambassadors and their kids do not have allegiance to the United States. They're not subject to the jurisdiction. The Supreme Court even held that American Indians were not subject to the jurisdiction, and they did not have birthright citizenship. So Congress had to fix that through statute. So if the birthright citizenship provision doesn't apply to American Indians, why the hell would it apply to illegal aliens?
What a great point. Will there have to be? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
It's analogous to an invading army of foreigners like Tren de Aragua and MS-13. Should their kids get birthright citizenship? Hell no. They need to be deported along with their criminal parents.
What a great analogy. So in other words, if we're at war with somebody, some nation, let's say with Lithuania, and Lithuania invades, has a bunch of babies, they're just American citizens? I don't think so. I mean, that would be really stupid.
Yeah, and that's what's happening with 20 million illegal aliens who are coming here. They're invading our country illegally, unlawfully. They're having kids, anchor babies, and then their parents get a stay because of the kids, and then they get Medicaid. Why the hell are we doing this? Why?
And then chain migration, Mike. I mean, the aunt gets to come, and the cousin gets to come, and the grandpa gets to come. Suddenly you've got 30 people coming because you've got one American citizen in the family. That's what they've been doing, right?
Yeah, we are a nation of immigrants, but it needs to be through lawful immigration, where people come here lawfully. They assimilate. They come here slowly over time. They assimilate and they become part of America. These illegal aliens who are coming here, whether it's from Central America, South America, the Middle East, especially, oftentimes they're not here to assimilate into American culture. They're here to destroy us. They're Trojan horses who are here to destroy us. You have places in Michigan where you have huge Middle Eastern Muslim populations where there are no-go zones. Why the hell do we want to import people into this country who hate us and want to destroy us? We don't. We had an election on this, and this is a bright red line for the Supreme Court and the lower federal courts. We, the people with the sovereign power in this country, the sovereign power to control our borders and to control our populace, this is a red line. We are not going to give up that sovereign power to these activist judges stealing that from we the people. This is unacceptable, and it's not going to end well for the federal judiciary.
MRDDMIA over on all the social media. Go to article3project.org and support what Mike and his folks do. Also go to the new website, judicialsabotage.org. In Hamtramck, Michigan, you're right. They've got the call to prayer 5 times a day, audibly throughout the city. Let me just finish on this. I believe it was Senator Howard from Michigan that insisted subject to the jurisdiction thereof was added. That was supposed to solve the problem. That was supposed to say, look, this is for slaves and their children. This is not for anybody who is a foreign national. Why did we ever screw that up? And was it recent that we did that, or from the time in the 1860s when this was adopted in the Constitution? They've been doing it the whole time.
No, they have not been doing it, but we haven't had an illegal alien invasion until recent times. And it became front and center when Joe Biden illegally mass imported 20 million illegal aliens into our country. And they're trying to replace our population. Yes, the replacement theory, as the Democrats call it. They are trying to replace our population with third world Marxist trash. We've spent 250 years building up wealth and building up the greatest nation in human history. And we are a welcoming nation. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are not stupid. We're not going to get played. And again, this is a red line for the federal judiciary. We are not going to allow federal judges to continue this mass invasion. The Supreme Court refused to stop President Biden in 2023 during this mass invasion, and we're sure the hell not going to let the Supreme Court stop President Trump in 2025 when he's trying to get these people the hell out of our country.
Will the Supreme Court rule in the correct way here, or is it going to take a statute or a law by Congress to say the 14th Amendment, let's clear this up. This is only for these people, and say that these are people that are actually here permanently on some sort of a green card, people who are on the way to citizenship, people who actually, vow their allegiance with this country. Will it take Congress, or will the Supreme Court do the right thing?
Well, I would say this to the Supreme Court. This is the most basic covenants in our Constitution, that we, the people, are the sovereign. We have the sovereign power. We can lend that sovereign power to our federal government through our loan agreement called the Constitution, and we can divide that power between legislative power to Congress and the executive power to the president and judicial power to the Supreme Court. We, the people, never gave away that most basic sovereign power to control our border and to control our populace to these judges. We never did this, and if the Supreme Court takes us to the break, it's not going to end well for the Supreme Court and the federal judiciary. They're going to lose their legitimacy with the American people. When they lose their legitimacy, they lose everything.
It is Mike Davis, MRDDMIA, over on social media. He's the boss over at the Article 3 Project. Go and check out everything they do. Go support what he does as well. And judicialsabotage.org is the new website. The ruling that sort of got glossed over last week was that President Trump has the ability, and DHS has the ability, to send bad guys to a third-party nation that'll take them. The idea that you had to keep the bad guys here and you couldn't send them back because they didn't want to go to a third-party nation never made any sense to me at all. What was the argument that the left was making about this? It's too mean to send them to Sudan? I don't get it.
Yeah, they're saying that if you come from a country and you're claiming that country is going to persecute you because you go home, okay, then we'll send you to a different country. And that's going to end these bogus asylum claims instantaneously. And you know what? I want to say kudos to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, because he created Alligator Alcatraz, and we have 3,000 beds there for these people who are claiming asylum. You can either go to South Sudan or you can go to Alligator Alcatraz. Either one of them doesn't look terribly fun to me. So maybe the better option is just to go home to your wife and kids.
I made up a slogan yesterday, Mike. I need your thoughts on this. Alligator Alcatraz, try to leave, they'll bite your ass. No? I thought it was pretty good.
I think it's great.
I'm going to make a side. I'll put it out front. Just dumb. I want to finish with this. I don't know anything about the Big Beautiful Bill and AI. What was included in the Big Beautiful Bill that's now out of it that you're glad is out of it about AI?